And we are back here on the GSMC Sports Podcast. And for the fourth part of the show, we are now going to talk about Justin Fields and where he ended up. So, interesting. Coming down to the Steelers and the Jets, and he ends up going to the Jets on a 2-year deal. I'll get the specifics of the deal in a second. But I said I thought he was going back to Pittsburgh. And it felt like it was going to happen. But then free agency started, and then as we moved along, it seemed like maybe it wasn't a guarantee. And yeah, that ended up being the case because he goes to the Jets. He signs a 2-year deal. The contract will be $40 million, including $30 million guaranteed. And with the Steelers, last season, completed 65.8% of his passes. He had 1,106 passing yards, 5 touchdowns to 1 interception, 289 yards rushing, averaged 4.7 yards per carry with 5 rushing touchdowns, and the Steelers are 4-2. And I did bring this up, but money was a factor, and also I think it's just maybe he felt a little bit of disrespect because the Steelers were winning games. They had a winning record with him, and they still went back to Russell Wilson. And it looked like, hey, I guess that was the right move. But then the Steelers ended up losing 5 straight games, and they never thought to themselves, let's go back to Fields. And let's see if Fields could change it up. Let's try to change it up. Because, you go back to 2023, you had Kenny Pickett. He gets hurt. Mitchell Trubisky comes in. And they pulled the plug on him, and they had no problem putting in Mason Rudolph. So why you started out 4-2 with Justin Fields? Why didn't you go back to him and try to change things up when you're losing games? The Steelers are lucky that they went on that winning streak with Russ because they could have missed out on the playoffs. So I don't know why they didn't do that. So maybe he felt disrespected there, and maybe if the Steelers were to bring him back, maybe he felt like they could bring in competition, and it wouldn't be guaranteed that he would have the starting job the whole year. With the Jets, you have that. And now with the Jets, with their first pick is right, they're picking at 7. I don't know if they're going to take. They're probably not going to take a quarterback unless you see, one of these guys fall to the 7th pick. But I think for the Jets, you're looking to draft best player available. You're maybe looking to, draft a receiver opposite of Garrett Wilson, maybe. Maybe you're looking at taking one of the tight ends because Tyler Conklin's not coming back. Maybe you want to take one of these young tight ends. They had an opportunity to take Brock Bowers last year, and they ended up taking Fashanu, which ended up being the better choice because, you signed Tyron Smith, and, you ended up having injuries to the offensive line throughout the year. So that ended up being the right pick there. So I don't know what the Jets are going to do. I think you take best player available if you're the Jets. Maybe you look to take a quarterback, in the later rounds, but that's not an area of need at the moment. They could do a lot of different things with that pick. They could trade down. Who knows? But do I like this for the Jets? I do. I do like this for the Jets. I don't think you should have went into. I don't think you could go into next year with Tyrod Taylor being your starter. Absolutely not. Like if you were to they move off of Aaron Rodgers and you let Tyrod Taylor start the whole season. That would be a head scratcher for me. But with Justin Fields, that at least if you're a Jet fan, you can go into the season, having some kind of optimism, I guess, going in. I mean, I know with the Jets, optimism is a strange word. Well, it's the same thing for both New York teams right now. Now we got to see what the other New York team decides to do with their quarterback situation. But with Justin Fields, I think he could definitely win you some games. I don't expect the Jets to be a playoff team next year, nothing like that. But I think they could definitely win some games with Fields. And it's going to be a different kind of approach with this iteration of this offense because now you go from Aaron Rodgers, who is part of a dying breed, a pure pocket passer. Well, not pure pocket passer because he obviously was able to make plays, by scrambling around a little bit. But and now Aaron Rodgers is not that same player, so it's not going to be Fields is going to drop back and throw it 40 times. Justin Fields is going to run the football. That's part of his game, and the Jets are going to become a different team. They are going to be a run-heavy team. And they have a good assortment of running backs with Breece Hall and Davis and Braylon Allen. So there's going to be an emphasis on running the football. And then, of course, you're going to see Fields take some shots downfield to Garrett Wilson. There's familiarity there because they were teammates at Ohio State. They need to get another threat at wide receiver, but I like it. I like it. Now, I don't think Justin Fields is going to be the answer, the long-term answer. I mean, we still don't know his full potential just yet, right? I mean, I felt like he should have stayed in Pittsburgh, but I do understand, from his perspective, if he felt like, I'm not guaranteed a starting job here. I don't blame him for going somewhere where he's the, guaranteed, like, hey, you're the guy. I really don't blame him for that. But, the way the Jets have been over the years, maybe staying in Pittsburgh wouldn't have been so bad. I don't know. But you know what? It's a new regime. I like what I hear from Aaron Glenn, but now you got to go out there and show it on the football field. What kind of identity is this team going to have going in? I think they're definitely going to be more disciplined. He seems like a guy that's going to be all disciplined. So you hope that that's going to be the case. But only time will tell. But yeah, I'm happy that the Jets, they went out and they got a legit starter. Because Justin Fields is a guy that can start. And Tyrod can start too, but he's a backup. Tyrod Taylor's a backup quarterback. To me, I think Fields, he's got that starter potential there. So, like I said, I don't expect playoffs. You're still playing in the division with the Bills. You figure the Dolphins are going to be better next year, if Tua could stay healthy. Although there was a video that I saw on social media of people talking about, Tua, he was on a boat, and he looked like he was out of shape. And people are like, oh, what's going on there? Well, look, it's the offseason. As long as he is in shape when we get to the season and he can stay healthy, you're okay with that. But yeah, the main thing for the Dolphins is they got to keep Tua healthy. Because if Tua stayed healthy last year, I think they make the playoffs. And then, you got the Patriots who have been making a lot of moves. Now you got Mike Vrabel as the head coach. And, Drake May, it looks like he's the guy in New England. I think they're going to be an improved team this year. So, yeah, I mean, right now you're looking at the Jets as, being at the bottom, in my opinion. But who knows? They could surprise you. They could definitely do that. But let me know what you guys think, though, about the Fields signing by the Jets. What do you think about that? Now that leaves Pittsburgh with an opening at quarterback. You still got Russell Wilson out there that you could bring back, and you could throw moon balls to DK Metcalf and George Pickens. Or do you bring in Aaron Rodgers? Now, it didn't seem like that was going to be a likely thing with Aaron Rodgers, but now look at what's happened. Look at what's happened. It's either going to be Aaron Rodgers or Russell Wilson. And you could say the same thing about the Giants, too. It's either going to be one of those two guys, in my opinion. So we will keep an eye on that. We await, because those are some big names that are out there. But we will have to wait and see. But yeah, let me know what you guys think, though, about the Fields deal. So when we come back from our next break, we will talk about the Lions. I will continue my season overviews. We will talk about the Lions and their season, what they got to do. What are some areas that they can maybe address or already have addressed. and what could potentially happen in the draft, things like that. We will get into all that when we come back from our final break of the show. So we have talked about the NFC North a bit today. We talked about the Bears. We also talked a little bit about the Vikings because they made some signings, and they did also lose Daniel Jones to the Colts. They've also lost Sam Darnold. So it could be the J.J. McCarthy show. So, we will talk about the Lions when we come back. So for one final time today, make sure to stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Sports Podcast.